So great to be here and be with
Yeah,
you.
lovely to be here.
Obviously, I've made the lovely trip to South Africa to talk about AI, and that's why I'm here. And I have this vast experience across UK, Middle East, and Africa. I look after that continent, and a particular challenge I'm seeing with customers is identifying what the use cases are for them to adopt with AI. And the starting point, it always seems to be the challenge. What you see in particular from South
Adoption,
Africa?
yeah. So adoption in South Africa, it's a multifaceted problem. There's many aspects to it that we need to consider. Some things and themes that I'm seeing is first and foremost the very real issue of data privacy and security concerns. Many organizations, enterprises are concerned at the risks that they might be facing from a data privacy and security space. They're definitely aware of the use cases. Maybe not all organizations are as aware of the art of the possible, and that's where iOCO kind of steps in. Another theme that we're seeing is legacy issues with the data, with the infrastructure. For example, if you want to do anything related to computer vision use cases, you need sensors, you need video equipment to be in your environment.
Which
to be
needs
able
to be highly secure.
Exactly. And then a very real one, specifically to South Africa, is the skills gap. We can't realistically not have a conversation about that, because if we're going to build that kind of innovation and have dependency on it for modern businesses, yes, we need to be competitive and we need to, obviously innovate accordingly to support a global market demand. But the reality is that we need to have that skill to support the technology. And so skills gap is a major cause for concern. In actual fact, as iOCO, we offer AI readiness assessments for our customers, because we know and we understand that AI adoption is a journey, right? And for different customers, they're in different spaces. Some of our customers we find are actually very mature and just need support. So maybe they need skill support or trusted advisor support. But then some customers look at this and say, guys, we're still doing things in physical paper-based systems. How do we go from there to leapfrog some of the issues to go to AI and enabled AI?
So that's a concept and a philosophy that I'm kind of driving, which is this concept of AI fit. So what does that mean? 20 years ago, we called it digital transformation. 10 years ago, we called it big data. And now we call it AI. The only change is the tools have got much better with AI.
Yeah.
So businesses need to do that digital transformation in order to get the benefit of AI.
100%.
They still need to do the hard yards. It's not
100%.
It's not going to be easy. You've got to do all those things. And as you talk about data, have you classified your data? Have you categorized your data? Have you applied any metadata to that? So these are all things that still need doing.
Yes.
And that is the AI fit piece. And then that long-term journey, that is actually how you implement that short-term gain of doing the digital transformation and then getting the long-term reward. The challenge is the mature businesses are dominating the narrative. So if you look at all of the successful use cases that you see in the media, these businesses have been doing it for 20 years. And we're expecting businesses that aren't as mature in that journey to do it overnight. And that's what the fix of AI is promising. But actually, the AI fit piece is missing part of the puzzle. We need to do that to get to this nirvana state of AI at mass. We're in this like paradoxical state at the moment where you can sit in this limbo doing nothing and seeing what the competition do. But if the competition get to that nirvana state quicker, you're going to be left behind. So you need to act, and you can implement the AI fit methodology. You don't need to go all in on AI. You just need to get your business fit so you can actually take advantage when you spot that use case and you spot that unique that you as a business can implement.
Matt, you mentioned earlier that one of the biggest hurdles in adoption is identifying a valid use case. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you're seeing?
Yeah, so I think you've seen the mainstream use cases and everybody's aware of those. I think the biggest challenge I'm seeing customers is like looking internally, understanding what the use cases are for them. And I try a different approach. It's not how do I apply AI to my business, it's how do I apply AI to my business goals. So what goals do I have as a business? Is it that I want to generate more revenue? Is it that I want to make my staff more efficient? It's then how do I apply AI to those challenges? And they're the ones that seem to be resonating and actually gaining traction because you have a clear goal. You want to drive more revenue. You want to make your staff more efficient. Cool, we've identified that. So how do I take these AI tools and improve the processes around that? And once again, we see in the media, AI as this broad brushstroke across everything from automation to Gen AI. And you have this like massive amount of stuff all being called AI. Yes, it is part of the equation, but actually when you get into that mindset of how do I apply these methodologies to this challenge, you then actually come away with some business value. And for me, the reason I start with the business goals is if the leaders aren't backing the project, it's going to fail. So you need 100%. A top-down and a bottoms-up approach to AI.
So some of the key use cases that we've seen are specifically in the finance space, professional services space, supply chain. But just on what you've mentioned here is that the key here is that it needs to make sense to your business. And one of the things that I've seen in our landscape specifically is not understanding the art of the possible. And so what we like to do when we engage with customers, for example, in the supply chain space, we'll say to customers, are you aware that you can use AI for optimizing inventory? You can use AI for demand forecasting. In the finance space, fraud detection, very big use case. Real-time analysis, very big use case. Customer experience enhancement, massive use case in that space. Professional services, they very often think that AI has nothing to do with them, but in actual fact might actually have the biggest impact. You're looking at things like legal. You know, gone are the days where a lawyer is expected to read tons and tons of legal documentation, but AI can sift through, and so you can have your lawyers focus on the negotiation aspects of it, that role, that part of the job. In compliance, you know, they've got to keep up with so many complexities, especially when you're looking at multinational businesses, multinational enterprises. Keeping up with the compliance risks associated with running a business globally is massive.
That all leads into the next challenge, the quality of the data.
Yes.
So we've got these great use cases and we've identified it, but if we go back to the AI fit message around what data do I have? Is it relevant? Is it categorized? Is it classified? Do we have metadata? A lot of these businesses don't do that. And you talk about like the FSI use cases, they've been doing that level of classification for a long time. So the rest of the businesses and the organizations that I talk to need to do that catch up around their data quality.
Yes.
What are you seeing from a South African point of view in terms of data quality?
It is an issue, but it's 100% from what I've seen data leaders do in this country, leaps and bounds in terms of where we've been and where we're going. For many organizations, especially the newer organizations, for example, newer banks, they are able to leapfrog a lot of the problems we've had previously with data and go straight into the newer technology. So they've actually got a little bit of a benefit. And what you find is that those organizations can obviously compete at that global level in terms of innovation a lot sooner. But it doesn't discount, as you're saying, the work that has been done for large enterprises, specifically in South Africa and Africa, around getting the data quality right.
You made a very interesting point around the more innovative startups coming to market. In your opinion, do you think that they are better at executing with the data that they've got? Or do you think that there's a bigger issue surrounding data?
I do think that data curation is one of the biggest facets that play a role in that. Their ability to understand what they've got. Because as they're developing their systems, it's still fresh, top of mind in terms of what it is that we're actually collecting from the customer. Now, when there's legacy systems involved, there's data sitting there, it's over there, also brings up the conversation of silos. Many organizers, especially the larger, older entities, have to struggle or have been struggling with data silos, right? Production needs to speak to demand, right? So these things need to speak to each other, and at the current level, they're not. So the reality of the sheer scale that we're talking about in terms of data and being able to successfully adopt AI when it's one thing being able to do it in a specific department with a couple million customers, but can you do it when you're looking at the entire African region for your business?
It links back to the skills gap that you were talking about. So if you think you've got this mass amount of data, you physically, with really skilled labor, you're going to get very little value in the long run. This is why the tools exist. The AI tools help you get that intelligence and react quickly. And the more data you've got, the better those decisions are going to be, the less risk you have. So for me, the data is the start of the AI fit journey.
100%. When I speak to customers about what it is that we do at iOCO, specifically the AI department, I say we specialize in building Iron Man suits. So the idea that AI can help you be supernatural, superhuman in your business, get to all the use cases and things that you wish you were doing in your business. Very often the conversation is about AI is taking my job, is taking away opportunity from people. But what I'm seeing is that the best use cases are actually those ones where, in actual fact, we didn't do that task before. We didn't get to that. We wish we could have, but we don't have 24/7 to actually sit and do those kinds of analysis. Very simple one is personal banking. Previously, that was left only for the elite, right? If you had a very high bank account, you had personal banking experience. Now with AI, those personal banking experiences can come to middle-class individuals, right? And even other segments of the market as well, because we have that integration now and we have that capability.
It's a beautiful point because there's things you can do with AI.
Yes.
But you need to sit back and say, is it worth doing that?
Yes.
And for me, this short-term, long-term goal is, what are the really pertinent things? What are the business pains that you're experiencing today that you wish you could solve? And I guarantee there'll be some form of AI solution that will improve that process and make your business more successful. But there's going to be other stuff that you could apply AI to, but there's zero reward to it. And I see that as the complexity of this matrix customers are navigating is you can apply it to so many things, but actually what is the most important to you as a business right now? And that's where I see the best success.
It's funny you say that, because I always talk about AI economics, because it can get a bit complicated when there are so many facets to it, right? So I say that AI is groundbreaking because it shifts the supply curve and the demand curve completely, both of them at the same time. And so for you as a business, you need to understand from a supply side, what is the impact going to be? From a demand side, what is the impact going to be? And try to find your nirvana point, as you mentioned earlier.
We've covered like the short-term challenges. What do you see happening in this region over the next 3 to 5 years?
Interesting developments. There's these rumors of AI agents.
I know that yourself and iOCO are doing some really cool stuff when it comes to agents. Can you explain to me, as if I was a 6-year-old, what you mean as an agent?
Okay, so it is an interesting concept, but essentially what I want you to think about is 3 types of human-like experiences that we've had with technology. So all of us are used to automation, things being automated by machines. And in enterprise level systems and spaces, we're aware of robotic process automation. So it's not actual robots, but it's a way of automating processes, right? But the problem with robotic process automation is that there's no thinking, correct? Yep. So,
could you just give me an example of how you'd use robotic processing automation?
So for example, automating an email.
Okay.
So I need to send out the same email every week. I'd rather automate it, right? But, and I'll continue with this example, what if a specific point needs to be made every week with a slight change? So for example, the fraud use case. If I need to send out an email every Monday to the fraud investigators about new fraud for them to investigate, but there's certain decisionings that need to be made. So a model, right, which brings me to the second component of an agent, is number 1, RPA, number 2, a thinking model. And so a thinking model is what you're used to in terms of traditional machine learning or use of neural networks to actually consume data, analyze data, and make a decision, i.e., is it fraud or not?
So,
right?
Big set of data, these are the high-risk markers against that data, and then it produces you a result saying, look, this is the top 10 that we think could be fraud.
Or whatever it would need to do to make a decision, to think, right? So just to take it at a high level, you need a component that actually does the task, so emails, for example, or types. You need a second component that thinks, which is in the modeling and the machine learning and neural network capability. And then we need a GPT, right? It's a GPT-like interface, a large language model interface that we can actually have a conversation with. And then we can kind of say to this agent, hey, why did you make that decision? And that's the newish component. We've had the previous 2 for a while now. So we're used to identifying fraud and a number of automated systems happening afterwards. For example, cancelling of accounts or sending an email to the customer. So we're used to that happening. But now the introduction of large language models to this makes an agent, right? So now you almost have a sentient system.
So you can now chat with your fraud data.
And I mean, if you're thinking about manufacturing, if you're thinking about even the financial space, you can actually ask the system, how's it going? Imagine. So it's definitely something that might sound a little bit foreign to business leaders, sound a little bit exaggerated, but I think that we're going to be 100% socialized to this type of technology in the coming years. And so it's going to be normal for us to want to see it in our enterprise spaces. I think a classic example is people using ChatGPT for work purposes, right? Because there is no GPT at work. And so there's a requirement there, which is interesting. So when the requirement comes from everyday experience with the technology, and you see that there's a gap and we can't have that in our enterprise community, that's where the challenges are. I think a classic example is people using ChatGPT for work purposes, right? Because there is no GPT at work.
Yep.
And so there's a requirement there, which is interesting. So when the requirement comes from everyday experience with the technology, and you see that there's a gap and we can't have that in our enterprise community, that's where the challenges are.
Links back to your skills narrative, because what you see there is utilizing the tools at your disposal. Obviously, uploading your data and sharing that with a publicly accessible thing isn't great, but that's because the people that get the superpower that AI delivers, they see that that can improve their performance.
Yes.
So how do we take these tools and deliver a data sovereign solution on premise for these businesses to take advantage of? That's the challenge I definitely see on a day-to-day basis.
And so, great point. We're just going to see more of what we're already seeing now. So AI solutions getting more tailored, more specific, more niche according to the customer's needs. So not only B2B customers, but B2C as well. You're going to see large enterprises really looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, what is the real value that we bring to customers? And how do we put on our superhero suits and deliver even more to those customers? From a HPE perspective, what's next?
What's next? I think we are probably one of the most established vendors in the world, especially when it comes to supercomputing and AI. We've got a lot of services to help customers either expand what they're doing really well with AI, but from my side, I'm definitely seeing those customers struggling to adopt AI. So we have services in our kit bag and a partner network across the region to help customers start on this AI journey. So from a HPE point of view, we offer something called the Gen AI Discovery Service. So that really helps customers understand what are the business goals, what's the use case, and how to come up with a proof of value. And I say proof of value very deliberately, not a proof of concept. It's like, how do you prove that if we can get you AI fit and we take that data and we come up with this end use case, whether it'll deliver value back to the business. So you're not investing millions and millions in trying to get something to work. You're investing a little to prove that the long goal will work. So from a HPE point of view, that is definitely something that we're driving, and we have this partnership network like yourselves delivering very similar services. So really keen to hear what's happening in your space as well.
Well, less structured sometimes. We do like to have just general conversations about the art of the possible with our customers. We love educating and informing them about what is the reality, what is the AI reality for them. But more specifically, we also have our AI readiness assessments that I think tie in very well with what HPE is offering. And so this partnership is making complete sense from our perspective, and I'm really looking forward to what we can achieve on the continent together.
That's awesome.